Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much indeed for joining this meeting today of the Cabinet. May I begin with apologies for absence? None? Okay. The next one is around the minutes. These are the Cabinet meeting that we had on the 12th of July, which seems a long time ago now. I'll sign those as a true and correct record after this meeting, unless there are any matters arising, which I don't think there are. Thank you. So we then move on to disclosures of members' interest. Are there any declarations anyone would like to make that they haven't already made on their declaration forms or sought advice from? No? So that takes us nicely on to number 4. And number 4 is the outcome of the consultation on the proposals for the COCOT partnership. And we have got today, we've got Sue Aviston today, and we've got Audrey Kingham, and we also have Guy Renner-Thompson, who is the Cabinet member responsible for Children's Services. So I wonder, Guy, would you like to do a brief introduction, and then I'll pass over to Sue and Audrey.
Certainly, Chairman. This is the latest in our long list of ambitious new school builds. You'll recall we've built new high schools in Hexham, Ponteland. We've put £5 million into Hayden Bridge. We've got new high schools starting to be built in Seaton Delaval coming up. Previous to that, there were new schools built in Bedlington and elsewhere. This is something we can be very proud of. We must keep reminding people that this is not funding from central government. This is our own money, our own taxpayers' money that we're putting in to invest in the future of education in Northumberland. The consultation has been a relatively straightforward one. The vast majority of responses have been in favour of moving to a two-tier model. All of the schools are in favour of moving to a two-tier model, which Sue will go through. All I'll add to the extra good news in Amble is that the James Calvert-Spence High School has just been awarded a good Ofsted, which is the best result that school has ever had in the history of its existence. This is a great boost for the town of Amble, and it's a great source of pride for our school improvement team. This is a team that I talk to regularly about. They've been in that school with the head teacher, with the teachers, with the pupils on the ground, making a difference to get this result. And this will make Amble a more attractive and better place to live. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. So, Sue, do we come to you first?
Thank you, Leader. Just to highlight some of the key areas within the report. As Councillor Renner-Thompson has already set out, that the report sets out the analysis of the feedback from the consultation that we've undertaken on the COCOT partnership being reorganised to a two-tier organisation, primary, secondary system of education. It also sets out the analysis on feedback on the proposal to provide additional special educational needs places to meet the growing demand for places for children and young people diagnosed with a primary need of ASD and social, emotional and mental health within the COCOT partnership. Sorry. The background information is contained in paragraph 6 to 10 of the report and is something that we've clearly stated in previous presentations to Cabinet. And as Councillor Renner-Thompson has already discussed, it's through the investment that the conversation has started within the school partnership about the best way that schools can be organised to ensure that they are financially viable and sustainable into the future. And all that detail is contained within your report. In terms of the consultation process, again, the information is set out in paragraphs 18 to 26 of your report, which confirms that the pre-consultation took place from the 11th of May until the 29th of June, and this was in accordance with the DFE guidance as laid down in there, making substantial changes to schools. A consultation document was also developed, including questionnaires setting out the background, the rationale and the implications of the proposal, and also included in the proposal was to provide specialist provision, creating a satellite site for Barndale Special School. The consultation document itself was circulated directly to parents, staff, governors and other stakeholders as detailed in the consultation register that can be found at appendices 2 of the report. For the first time, we've got back to business as usual in terms of our consultation, and we were able this time to carry out face-to-face meetings. So they were also held with every governing body and staff group, and summaries of these meetings are also contained in paragraph 44 of the report. We were also able to hold a public consultation event. Again, this was held, and transport was provided to the event from Broomhill, Widrington and Red Row. And again, more detailed descriptions are actually contained within paragraph 25 of your report. Feedback from the consultation, there again is detailed breakdown on the feedback of the consultation in paragraphs 27 to 45 of the report, and a full responses from everyone that responded to the consultation is also contained within the background papers to the report. But in summary, the governing bodies from all the first schools supported the proposal for the organisation of schools to change to a primary-secondary structure, and again their detailed responses are in paragraphs 28 to 33. The governing body of James Calvert Spence, as you will remember, are responsible for children in years 5 through to years 13. It's one school in the partnership. And their responses, as they commented, that the current structure they have commented that the current structure has strengths and have commented on the current strengths of their school. However, they have also confirmed that they will support the decision made following the consultation and will work as hard as it takes to make any future model work effectively, whatever that model might be. The governing body of Barndale Special School have also responded and have clearly indicated they are supportive of working in partnership with the schools in the COCUT partnership and the local authority to develop specialist provision in Amble. And again, more detail on their responses in paragraph 36. We've also received responses from the staff bodies at the schools involved. So 12% of staff responded individually to the online survey. 10% of those were also in favour of primary-secondary reorganisation, and 2% were unsure. Newcastle Diocesan Board responded their responses at paragraph 37, where they confirmed that they are supportive to move to a full primary-secondary structure across the partnership, and they are also supportive of the proposal to develop local specialist provision to meet the community's needs. The Diocesan of Hexham and Newcastle are also supportive of the reorganisation to a primary-secondary structure, and their response is also contained in paragraph 38. Pupils' views were also sought as part of this consultation, and again they're summarised in paragraph 39 of the report. Parish and town councils have also responded to the consultation to say that they would support the community's choice. So while they didn't express their own view, they were happy to support the community's choice. We did then also receive individual responses from individual community members, parents and those directly impacted by the proposal. So initially 3,029 consultees were sent the link to the consultation document, and of these 125 responses were received. From the responses that were received, about 50% of those were from parents and carers of the pupils currently attending schools within the partnership. Around 25% were from staff and governing bodies, and the remainder were from other interested stakeholders. Of those that responded, 92% responded in favour, saying that they felt that the primary-secondary model would provide improved outcomes and be a sustainable and viable option for schools in the future. 3% of those that responded supported the current structure of schools and felt that the three-tier system should remain. And around 5% of those that did respond didn't know which model would provide improvements to the current system. The main reasons for giving in support of each of the models, again, is contained in paragraph 42 of your report. And there is also very clear support from all of those that responded in support to create specialist provision within the COCUT partnership, with over 82% of those that responded felt that a satellite provision in COCUT partnership should be supported. Further implications of the proposals are set out in paragraphs 48 to 62 for you to actually review, but I'd just like to bring your attention to other implications around the building implications and the funding. So, as you will see in the implications, indicative cost to achieve the reorganisation is set out in Table 5 of your report, which has resulted in an increased cost estimation rising to £36.1 million to deliver the project as described within the report. The increase in the costs are as a result of the increase in the scope of works, which now includes a 50-place special school that was never envisaged to be part of this proposal or the budget originally identified for the improvements within the partnership. The budget also includes a new build school for James Calvert-Spence. That's a complete new build, no remodelling or using of any existing buildings that exist. And we'd also already got a mobile replacement classroom proposal going forward in 2 of the schools. So we are bringing those works in line with the programme in order that we can achieve better value by making a larger scope of works when we go out to tender. The current cost estimates that you see within the report also allow for predicted inflation rates that are currently being experienced within the construction industry. The report also highlights that the additional funding required to deliver the project is set out in Table 6 and proposes to use an additional £8.6 million of external grant funding, as well as allocating £2 million of council resources, which will be funded through savings achieved against the budget for the new build school for Astley and Wittrig Middle School. Again, just to remind everybody, these are initial cost estimates and are subject to more detailed work should Cabinet approve the publication of a statutory proposal. So, in conclusion, in their responses, all the governing bodies in the partnership have shown a commitment to making a change to a new structure and will make it work if approved for the benefit of the children and young people in the COCUT area, including the governing body of James Calvert-Spence. Although they remain supportive of the current structure, they are aware of the benefits that new build and sustainability this project would have for the future of education in the partnership. Staff groups also responded and have all indicated their support for the proposed reorganisation, largely for the same educational reasons as the governing bodies. And while the responses from parents and general public were relatively low, responses were overwhelmingly in favour of a 2-tier primary-secondary structure, with 92% of those responding supporting the proposal. Therefore, given the education rationale presented by the majority of the governing bodies in the partnership, Cabinet have been recommended today to approve the publication of a statutory proposal setting out the proposals to reorganise schools in the COCUT partnership to a 2-tier primary secondary structure of organisation with effect from the 1st of September 2024. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. And that's a really upbeat, positive report, which has taken an awful lot of work from you and the team, and for which we're very grateful. Jeff Watson has taken a very keen interest in this progress of this matter. Do you want to comment, Jeff?
Thank you, Chair. As you probably all know, the school falls within my county council patch. It's in the outskirts of Amble. And so I congratulate you on a really, really good report and a really good consultation, which I think, compared to other consultations, has been politically free from issues and problems, and we've had very little opposition to going ahead with what you want to do. I fully endorse the request. I just want to point out, and I'm going to keep pointing this out, that I think we have a slightly bigger opportunity here than just a school. We are talking about inequalities throughout Northumberland. This school is an excellent opportunity to get rid of some of the inequalities that we've got. There are absolutely no facilities in the town the size of Humble, which is almost the size of Alnwick, which are done by the county council. There is no community hall, there are no sports facilities. We have a library, everybody's got a library, and there is nothing. This is an opportunity to make sure that the sports and recreation element of the schools also coincides with the need of the community. And it would really, something I'm really, really keen on. Communities together, I know, are interested in this as well. I hope we can do this properly. So it's not just a school, it's a school with a community centre, with a sports and recreation area as well, the whole shooting match. I'd be very, very pleased to take part in any discussions or any negotiations along that. And Sue's already aware of this. She knows what I'm talking about, because I've already said it. But I'm going to keep saying it, keep saying it, and keep saying it until we've got a plan that I actually think works for the town. Thank you, Chair.
I don't know who to feel more sorry for, you or Jeff. We're going to keep saying it, keep saying it, keep saying it. No, I mean, you're very passionate about this, and absolutely rightly so. Are there any other questions, queries, questions, or anything else from anyone? Okay, so we have a number of recommendations which I don't propose to read out. They begin with little a. Oh, I should just ask, have we heard from the Scrutiny Committee? Right. I think they were generally supportive, weren't they? I think so.
The Scrutiny Committee were in favour of the proposal.
Excellent. So there we have.
I'm happy to propose.
Okay. So those recommendations are proposed. Are they seconded? Seconded by Guy Renner-Thompson. Are you all in favour? If you could very kindly show, that looks to me like it's unanimous. So that's lovely. Thank you very much indeed for that. And thank you very much, Sue. Sue, thank you. Thank you very much indeed. And it's really, it's a very exciting moment, this, because we are one step closer to seeing a fantastic investment and a serious amount of money in terms of investment, which I hope some will note. We are really looking forward to cracking on with this and making this a fantastic new educational experience for our children. And I think Jeff was absolutely right. It will play a big part in reducing our inequalities in that particular part of Northumberland. So well done, everybody. Thank you very much indeed for that. So then we move on to the next one, which is around the Energising Blythe Culture Placemaking Programme. Thank you. The outline business case. And I'm going to ask, first of all, Wojciech, do you want to add anything at this stage?
I just would like to introduce that report shortly. It's about approving the outline business case for culture placemaking program. As we know, Blythe is facing some challenges regarding the town centre with falling footfall and basically people having no reason to go to the town centre in Blythe. That's our response to that. We would like to develop some cultural events program, improve some physical public realm, that will include some lighting that provide some new branding campaign for Blythe, just to give people reason to go there, to improve the footfall and to change the perception locally and among the external visitors as well. And that's $1.5 million program, which includes $500,000 contribution from Northumberland County Council. The rest is coming from the town deal. And basically,
that's a really good summary. Thank you very much, Wojciech. I'll ask the Interim Chief Executive if he wants to add anything to that.
Yes, I will, thanks, Chair. I won't describe the project. Where we are in the process of energising Blythe, and this item on the agenda and the following two items on the agenda will look very similar. They just relate to different projects. Under the assurance framework, we have to produce various documents to draw down the money from central government. The first is the outline business case, and that then leads on to the full business case. The one that the lead members just introduced, the culture placemaking programme, has had its outline business case developed. It's been assessed by external assessors, and this document effectively asks the Cabinet to approve the outline business case, which we'll then send on to government. The other two reports, items 6 and 7 are very similar. They outline the business cases for other projects that the lead member will introduce. All I would say is that the outline business case, which is attached to the introduction, is done to Treasury Green Book guidance. It considers 5 issues: strategic case, economic case, commercial case, financial case, and the management case. So the reports describe what all the benefits are of the projects. Once they've been approved here, hopefully at Cabinet today, they'll go to government, and then we'll get the okay to move on to the final business case.
Good.
So that's all I would add, Chair.
Yep.
To give some context.
Lovely. So thank you very much for that. Are there any questions or queries? Yes, Councillor Patterson.
It's not really a question. I just wanted to read from the key objectives, which it's got improve well-being among local people in Blythe and visitors through new opportunities to engage in cultural activities and events, and boost local pride by celebrating the town's distinctive culture and heritage. I just wanted to say that I worked in Blythe a few years ago, and the people are so warm-hearted and friendly, and I actually feel very supportive of this report and hope very much that it goes ahead.
Well said. Quite right. Yes, Richard.
Thank you, Leader. I couldn't agree more with Wendy's comments. And I'd just like to sort of emphasise how much work has gone into this. It's been a huge amount, not just from councillors led by Councillor Poshide, but as well from our local MP in Blythe Valley, Ian Levy, who's been a champion for getting investment into Blythe, whether it's through the town deal or through the Future High Street Fund, and he's been incredibly successful in doing that. This is going to put energy and back into Blythe, put the heart back into Blythe, make it the place that people want to go to, and it can't come soon enough when compared to what's been there over previous years. Thank you.
Okay, I think that sums that up nicely. So we've got some recommendations. There's 1 and 2. Is there a proposal for those? Proposed by Councillor Poshai and seconded by Councillor Patterson. Councillor Patterson, thank you. Are you all in favour? Could you please show? That looks unanimous. Thank you very much indeed. So would you take us through to the next one, please? This is also for you, if that's okay. This is this one here.
It's
the
Energy Central Campus Phase 1.
Yeah. Yes, would you like to introduce this as well?
So I would like to introduce the report about outline business case for Energy Central Campus Phase 1, which is Energy Central Learning Hub, that's how we call it. It's a STEM education facility located in Port of Blythe. We know that, again, Blythe has got high deprivation levels, very low skilled and low wage workforce, and to change that, the first step for myself and probably for all my colleagues in the cabinet who will agree is through the education. So that facility will provide a STEM education for young people as well as for adults to reskill for clean energy sector opportunities which will come to Blythe, and not only Blythe, for the wider Northeast area with investments such as Dogger Bank or Berwick Bank offshore wind farm. So it's a huge opportunity, and it's important to have that in Blythe where the clean energy cluster is.
Excellent. Thank you very much for the summary. Interim Chief Executive, do you wish to add anything? Okay, so are there any questions or queries? Yes, Councillor Renner-Thompson.
Yes, I'll add my support with my education hat on. The Energy Central Learning Hub is a key project for us with our partners, and I would like to invite Audrey Kingham to say something about it, because I know she's worked incredibly hard on setting it up. But as Councillor Pulshai says, we talk a lot about tackling inequality. The best way to tackle inequality is through education and through work. And the only way that we will achieve that is if we improve our primary education, our secondary education, and also our post-16 offer, which is what this is.
and improve aspiration from an early age. Indeed, you're quite right. Would you like to add anything, Audrey?
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, Guy. Lots of work gone into this. It is a brilliant accelerator and should really be the hub of change for Blythe. All of our primary schools are linked into this, our universities, our colleges and skills around the county. We aim to develop this. I am part of the team with the Energy Central. We aim to develop this into a regional facility. It links directly to the previous Cabinet investment of the Welding Centre, which will be at Blythe. We aim for that to be the first offshore UK welding facility. So this is knitting together really nicely within Blythe, and I would like to see this change a generation over time.
Excellent. Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. I've just had a quick consultation with the monitoring officer, and for the purposes of the minutes, I would like to declare an interest in this. I am a director of Energy Central Campus Limited,
Right.
which is the partnership company between the council, the port, and the Catapult, which will operate Energy Central Hub.
Okay.
The monitoring officer assures me it's not a conflict, but for the purposes of the minute, it's best that I do declare that.
When in doubt and all that.
Declare.
Exactly. So we've got recommendations, little one and little two, or big one and big two. Can I have a proposal? Proposed by Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Renner-Thompson. All in favour, please show. That's marvellous. Thank you. And now we move on to paper D, which is the Offshore Energy Catapult Technology Demonstration Centre, an outline business case. I'm going to ask Wojciech to give us a short intro to this one as well.
Similarly to the previous project, this one is just enhancing the offer in Blythe by providing the research and development, validation and testing facility, which will be led by OREC, which is the world-leading offshore renewable research facility, which we have in Blythe, and we are very proud of it. Like I said, the offshore wind industry is going to be probably doubling, if not more, in the next few years. And that's our opportunity to be a part of it with that cluster which I mentioned previously. And so it's a great project. And one thing to mention here, probably, there is no contribution from Northumberland County Council. We are just the body to approve the outline business case. It's totally funded by the town deal, North of Tyne Combined Authority, and OREC Catapult.
Fantastic. So much investment. Do you want to take this one?
No, not again.
So any questions or queries about this one? Really exciting again. Tremendous way to invest in our young people's futures and provide jobs. If there are no questions, can I take a proposal proposed by Councillor Horncastle, seconded by Councillor Riddle? All in favour, please show. Thank you. And now we move on to the food, the food and feed standard. You know, I knew when I saw this I couldn't do it properly. I'm so sorry. We can't cut this, can we?
It's been a long day, Lee.
It has been a long day, yes. The Food and Feed, Safety and Standards Service Plan 2022 to 23. This is a report of Liz Morgan, who is our Executive Director of Public Health and Community Services, and our Cabinet Member responsible is Councillor Colin Horncastle, who will give us a brief introduction.
Very brief. Yes, it's the Food and Feed Safety and Standards Service Plan 22-23. There you go. Right, we've discussed it in the former Cabinet. It's been a scrutiny's over the moon with it, except for the fact that they would like the government to make a displaying of food hygiene ratings mandatory, but that's not in our hands. Handles animal feed as well. The good thing about this is it actually tells us how good Northumberland is. First of all, well done to all officers involved and all the hard work that's gone into this. But in Northumberland, we have 98.3% of our businesses have a 3 to 5 star rating, and that's well above national average. I mean, that is absolutely excellent. So I don't think the scrutiny committee's got much to worry about, because if you've got a 98% of the businesses has got their ratings as high as that, we'll want to display it anyway. And we've also got the very interesting produced to Northumberland badge that could go on food and food that's got added value to it in Northumberland. Excellent report, and it's before us for adoption, I presume. Yes. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Liz, yes, please.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll just add a few more details. As Councillor said, it's Food and Feed Safety and Standards Service Plan for 22-23. It basically meets the requirements of the Food Standards Agency, and that we produce such a plan so that we can set out how we're going to deliver our regulatory responsibilities and also the resources we are going to place to ensure that happens. And I can inform the Cabinet that those resources are in place. As well as that, it does include a review of 21-22, which is a very challenging year, not just for the service, but obviously for our businesses in the food and drink sector because of the COVID pandemic. And as you'll read in the report, for example, we did over 2,600 proactive COVID secure checks in support of businesses, answered over 600 inquiries. And another point I'll just make is, in addition, it was challenging because the team was providing a new service due to the UK's exit from the European Union. For the first time since the early 70s, environmental health officers were now inspecting food export certificates for food of animal origin, and during 21-22 we actually issued 167 certificates for businesses exporting out of Northumberland. The Councillor mentioned, of course, performance, which shows that our food businesses are in upper quartile in terms of food hygiene and safety. With regard to the Producer Northumberland scheme, I'll just confirm we're actually in consultation with all our members. The good news was we maintained membership during the COVID pandemic because obviously the businesses value the scheme, and we're currently in consultation to see how we can develop the scheme and make it even better during 23-24. Thank you, Chair.
Very good. This is a really interesting report. Yes, questions, Jeff?
Colin, Councillor Horncastle, you gave me a figure there which I was astounded by. 98% of above 3. That is just unbelievable. Do we use that? Can we use that in our tourism thing? Can we say, I mean, Northumberland now is becoming a foodie place. We have destination points for food. I think that would just be a wonderful figure to get out to the community and tourism in general.
I can't answer that, but the officer might be able to know if it's gone to any statistics.
Do you know what? I don't need an answer. Just can you... Somebody just take note of it.
I'll tell you what, we'll take that on board. All of us will take it on board and use it. It's excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Guy Renner-Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. Can I vouch for the Produced in Northumberland scheme? When I was doing my research on the potential fishing issue around the island, I bumped into the website, and I must say I'd forgotten that it existed because we'd obviously had COVID and there hasn't been any promotion around it. Looking down the list of businesses that are in that scheme, I could have named another 20 off the top of my head that could be approached to join the scheme. So I really look forward to how that's going to be promoted and bump up the membership on that of that scheme, because Produced in Cornwall, for example, is a very famous scheme, and it's very well promoted throughout the UK. So if we could replicate that, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, please.
Yes, at this moment we've got around about 25 businesses who've expressed interest in joining the scheme, and at various stages, but we're hoping that we can significantly improve the numbers in 22-23.
Good. John Riddle.
Well, I think Guy just about said it all. I was really going to just commend the initiative that we did start as an administration, and it is something that is valued, and it's a good badge to have on the produce. So yeah, very good. As far as the food ratings go, yes, it would be nice that there were compulsory, but that's not now a gift. I suppose the thing is that if they haven't put it up, why haven't they put it up? And
That's a bit of a bouncer, I would say. Would you like to take that one?
Yes, well, with regard it becoming mandatory, it is mandatory in Wales and Northern Ireland. Scotland have a totally different scheme. Certainly the Chartered Institute of Environmental Health has been lobbying since 2017 for it to be mandatory, as has the LGA, actually. The LGA published a paper in 2017, so there's been some significant lobbying of the government to try and make it mandatory in England.
Okay, fine. Anything else from anyone else? I'd just simply like to say well done on the service requests, 103 requests for advice we received, 98% were responded to within 3 working days. That's absolutely brilliant, and that's what we want to see across the council everywhere. Really good. Thank you very much for that. I suppose the only thing that the producer in Northumberland, how are we going to come back to that and talk about it again? Is there some way that perhaps you could bring a short report or a verbal update, Liz, maybe, I don't know, to informal cabinet in the next 3 months, say? Because it's something that we all feel is really a good scheme.
Yes, Chair, certainly. We'll speak to our colleagues in tourism as well, so we can make sure that report's joined up in terms of.
Well, we'd very much like to see you at informal cabinet if you could do that. In the next
Yes,
that'd be
certainly,
lovely. Okay, if there are no more questions, thank you all very much indeed. Is a proposal proposed by Councillor Riddle, seconded by Councillor Watson? All in favour, please. All in favour? Yes, thank you. Okay, that's unanimous. A really good report. That's really good. Thank you very much indeed. And then the next one is is number F, which is the proposal of the allocation of the Public Health Ring Fence Grant Reserve to reduce health inequality. And this is where we go into Liz Morgan's wallet unmercilessly. Well, okay, you carry the wallet, do you?
I'm going to explain how the wallet might be dispersed.
Oh, marvellous, okay. Before we begin, we just have had a very interesting discussion and debate at Council about our Tackling Inequalities plan, which received a great deal of very positive dialogue, and we are holding, and I hope you'll be there for this, the policy conference on it in early October, I think the 12th, so that'll be good. So with that, over to you. Please, the members will have read the paper. Do you, yes, Wendy first, a little introduction from you. Thank you.
This report is to agree additional investment in public health interventions from the ring-fenced public health grant to tackle health inequalities, which include poverty, mental health and good housing, amongst many other things. I cannot say how valuable this is to all of our communities, and I look forward to hearing from Jim in a second. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Okay, over to you.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm Jim Brown, consultant public health. I work in the public health team for Liz. So there's a report on behalf of Liz Morgan, Executive Director of Public Health. As Wendy says, it describes a process that we as a team undertook to agree some proposals for additional investment, making use of quite a substantial proportion of the ring-fence public health grant underspend, so the reserve rather than the annual grant. And really what we're recommending to Cabinet is to approve the proposed allocation, but also to delegate to the Director of Public Health the precise expenditure of the £1 million that's set aside for actions to help address poverty and help reduce inequalities. I suppose I think it's really important just to make the point that as with the spending for the annual public health grant itself, the reserve, whilst we can keep that into the next year, it has to comply with the specified conditions of use of the public health grant, which are set out quite clearly by the Department of Health and Social Care, that they essentially must be used on public health functions, and we have to demonstrate that in our annual return. I suppose just to really just briefly explain the process, this was something actually we undertook a prioritisation exercise for the full budget several years ago, and actually a lot of that has been used to inform work by Public Health England, and so we're following actually quite a well-established process that we've fed into. It's transparent, it's rational, it's in line, I think, with the values of the council, and particularly what it's doing is it's agreeing and weighting specified criteria, and the highest weighting is for health inequalities. That's really in line, obviously, with that health inequalities plan that you've heard all about this afternoon. Other kind of really high important criteria: local need, evidence of effectiveness, and primary prevention, whether it seeks to prevent the onset of illness, or maintain good health. That's a key sort of public health function, as opposed to in terms of supporting people who are already diagnosed, which is more of a responsibility of the NHS. So other criteria: building community strengths, value for money, where there's evidence for value of money, system benefits and interdependencies, whether there are measurable outputs, and really importantly, sustainability, as this is short-term funding. This is not something we can use for years and years. So we sought bids actually from across the Directorate, also so including public health, housing, adult services, children's services, NCT, and used a structured business case template that we asked teams to complete. They were scored by a small team. You'll see those results in terms of 13 projects costing just in excess of £2.5 million of provisionally approved by SMT in public health. For a business as usual, you'll see they're low cost, under 15,000. But there are 9 proposed for approval by Cabinet with a higher cost. And as Councillor Patterson has said, £1 million for poverty, 710,000 for selective licensing scheme for private rented housing, 300,000 for redesign of Nhs Health Checks to reduce health inequalities, 210,000 for children and young people's emotional mental health support to help with the increased demand post-COVID, and finally 150,000 for evaluation of the integration of children, young people and services for families in Northumberland. I think in terms of some of them, in terms of poverty and children and young people's emotional and mental health, really what we are asking for is that there will be plans developed. They are in process. We have seen some early sites, particularly for poverty. That needs to be. There's still work on that. But I think from our point of view, the focus will be more upstream, preventive, sustainable interventions. But really, what it does need is a cross-council, cross-system approach, as with the inequalities plan. And actually, cost of living is going to System Transformation Board in October, where right across the system there'll be that opportunity to bring our plans and look for where those gaps are and look for that collective action. Selective licensing of rental properties in Coop and Key, that'll be subject to consultation, so you will see that come back. Nhs Health Checks, really, unfortunately, what we've actually been very successful in terms of the numbers up until COVID. They've dropped off a cliff. You'll know that's for people aged 40 to 74 who don't have any existing cardiovascular disease for early detection. And it's a mandated service, but we've been increasing health inequalities. So really what we're seeking to do is to support our existing health trainers, possibly one or two new, to deliver an additional service on top of what's delivered in general practice via a community outreach approach. So you'll see there are 4 others. There's Henry training to address childhood obesity for early help. Lung cancer case funding, that's a contribution because of very high rates that we have, particularly in South East Northumberland. MEC training grants to VCSE groups, 50,000, and some support for a vaccination midwife, given all of the work that's required to promote vaccination among pregnant women. So on that note, I'll hand back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Just when we're talking about inequalities, can I just ask Audrey Kingham about, in a sentence or two, what will our education what will education do to help us with meeting and tackling inequalities?
Where would you like me to start, Leader?
I'd like you to start at the beginning, then skip the next 10 chapters and give us the conclusion.
The very large headlines, let me say, this is something that's core to what we do. So narrowing gaps around attainment, narrowing gaps around ensuring our children are ready for school. So our early years team work diligently to ensure that we've got more of our 2-year-olds accepted into the system and part of our system working really well. Ensuring that more children have an opportunity so much earlier to consider a career so that we're reducing long-term unemployment, considering post-16 opportunities and destinations and engaging industry with education are absolutely embedded within our priorities.
And raising aspiration. Yep, super. Thank you. The child is the father of the man, after all. No. Are there any questions or queries from Councillor Riddle?
Work, please.
It's sought in Coop Key. It's a pilot over 5 years, and essentially, through the sector of licensing, it's funded in part by private landlords. That wouldn't in any way cover the costs of the system. So inbuilt in there will be evaluation of looking at that selective of licensing within that area for private rented properties where there's relatively low demand. Really with the intention of improving the quality of housing, but also helping to address antisocial behaviour as a sort of co-benefit to that. There will be, I have to be honest, that's something that our housing team, and with Liz as the exec director with housing, have put through. And actually, housing, as we talk about education, but housing is right up there, and we're going to see that with all the cold, damp homes coming, in the coming years, if with the energy prices obviously mitigated by the energy price guarantee, but. It's a key impact on people's health, a key impact on health inequalities, and obviously if it evaluates well, have to look at how that would be funded into the future, whether it's mainstreamed into budgets, depending on its contribution to health.
Lovely, thank you, Richard.
Thank you for a really good report. That having had the previous meeting, which. Where we discussed the inequalities plan, and there was questions posed about was it lip service, was it, where was this, what was the substance, and how did we get into it? And here we are bouncing straight into it with financial commitments about some really well thought through measures that reflect exactly what it was that we've been discussing and will be discussing for the decades to come to make sure that we get this right. So thank you very much. I think you couldn't have a better sort of document for proving that we mean what we say on this.
Indeed. I found it very frustrating that I wasn't able to answer a question around what are we going to do and what about the funding, because it hasn't actually been through Cabinet yet. Although the papers are, I think, circulated to members, so this did give an indication of where we are putting our money, or Liz's money, in fact. We would like some more too, please, soon. Are there any other questions? No. Proposed by Councillor Paddison, seconded by Councillor Horncastle. Are you all in favour of the recommendation? Lovely. That's unanimous. And what would be fun, actually, is if we could get an update, perhaps at informal cabinet in 4 or 5 months' time. We'd very much like to see you there. Lovely. That takes us on now to Hexham. Bless my soul, Hexham. Who will talk to us about the shop, and Alnwick, indeed, but not Wooler? No. The Hexham and Alnwick shop front design guide. Who'd like to take us through this? Colin. Just briefly, Colin, and then we'll press on.
The next three are very design guide. As you know, I may not be a one for great sort of like rules and regulations. However, I actually welcome this because it is actually a great help to developers. Because when they've got this as a design guide, it can actually save them an awful lot of time and money and refusals at the planning stage. We've got this sort of like planning Bible, design Bible to go by. So fully endorse it. It's just common sense for Hexham and Alnwick. At the moment, when we've got this historic grants coming in, especially at the Hexham end, it makes common sense that we've got the shop fronts that reflect the historic nature of the town. And also, this has been produced on the back of the local plan, which we adopted it on the 30th of March. So it's up to date. So I recommend it to the Cabinet.
Thank you very much. Do you wish to add anything?
I would only add one thing, Chair, to what Councillor Horncastle has said. This is actually a very important document because with having now adopted the local plan, we now need to endorse this so it will become a material consideration in those planning applications, particularly for the Heritage Action Zone in Hexham, where we have some good shopfront work. So.
Excellent. Okay. That. If there are no questions or queries, could we take that single recommendation? I think it is just a single recommendation. Proposed by Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Possai. All in favour? Thank you. Thank you very much. So that, we then move on to Wooler. Oh no, it's not Wooler, sorry. The endorsement of conservation area and the character appraisal for Bamborough. So, do we ask you again, Councillor Horncastle, to give us a very brief update?
This, at the bottom of, well, above where it says next steps, it says by setting out clearly those elements which contribute to the significance of the conservation area. So this is exactly what it says. It's appraisal of the things in the Bamborough conservation area. Important document. I'll stop there.
Okay. That's very short, I must say, for you. Okay, so this is a really important document. Bamborough, of course, is a hugely important place for the county. Guys, the local member, would you like to add anything, or are you okay with the recommendation? Okay, now. If there are no questions... Yes. Well, that's an interesting point. Yes, Richard.
Thank you. Just to say thank you as well to all of the people who've put so much work into these neighbourhood plans. They don't come off the shelf. It takes many, many hours, weeks, months, years of work by local communities. So thank you very much to everyone involved.
Yes, I think we'd all agree with that. Thank you. So we've got a recommendation there. Proposed by Councillor Horncastle, seconded by Councillor Patterson. Are you all in favour? Please show. That's lovely. So we will now move on to the next one, which is Hayden Bridge. Hayden Bridge. Heavens, sorry. Beg your pardon.
It was on the 30th of June, and you've only got a certain amount of time to make it, which we should have done with this last week. So we've got to make this, and this becomes part of our local plan, our plan policies. It's a document with 20 policies, obviously bespoke to Hayden Bridge. It's the usual stuff, but obviously relevant to that particular parish, covering sustainability, climate change, built and historic environment, natural environment, housing, vibrant and thriving community, local economy and accessibility. And it's, if you're interested in planning, which I am, very much so, and you read it's an interesting document, and also because it's really right on my doorstep, so I recommend it to the Cabinet.
Thank you very much indeed for that very good introduction. Are there any questions or queries about the Hayden Parish Neighbourhood Plan, which is a great document? You can see how much work has gone into this one as well. Absolutely substantial. And it's a beautifully prepared, beautifully presented neighbourhood plan, for which we're very grateful. And we strongly support this and thank the authors and all those people who were involved. And particularly Esmond Fawkes, who's the chairman of Hayden Parish Council for all the work that has gone on. Great document, thank you very much. We have some recommendations which are to note the outcome, to agree to formally make the neighbourhood plan, approve the decision statement and agree that they're published on our website going forward. So is there a proposal for that? Proposed by Councillor Patterson, seconded by Councillor Riddle. All in favour? That's unanimous. So well done. That's very good, Hayden Bridge. Thank you. We then... Yes, so now we move on to... who's this? Jan Willis. Yes. Now then, this is going to be very interesting for some of us in this room. Jan, would you like to tell us a little bit about the financial performance, please, and the position at the end of June 2022, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Leader and Cabinet members. Yes, this is the first of our quarterly financial monitoring reports. As I'm sure members will be aware, the Council's revenue budget is coming under significant pressure as a result of increases in the cost of fuel, general inflation, and in particular the expected pay award for local government staff. So we are, or as at the end of June, we're projecting an overspend of just over £17 million. The Council did set aside a reserve of just over £5 million for exceptional inflationary pressures at the beginning of the year. So we are looking potentially at a net overspend of about £12 million. And it's not just the council budgets which are coming under pressure. Some of our key providers, in particular in relation to home to school transport and adult social care providers, are also coming under similar pressure. So the report proposes some inflationary increases for those providers that we are asking Cabinet to approve. And the report also sets out in some detail the actions which are being taken to try and minimise the extent of the overspend in this financial year. So there are two particular issues that I wanted to mention. The first is members will be aware that the government has announced that it will be bringing forward a scheme to provide help, financial help to limit the impact of fuel increases for businesses, and that we are expecting that will include the council and our providers. Active Northumberland in particular are very large users of fuel and are particularly impacted by the escalating cost of fuel. So that's good news, although we don't yet have the detail, but we are expecting some help there. And the other point that I just wanted to clarify is in relation to the increase for the commissioned home care providers. The report says that the cost of increasing the mileage rates for staff who use their own cars will be funded from existing service resources. In actual fact, we are going to be looking at whether that can be absorbed as part of the market sustainability exercise, which is currently ongoing. So we will come back to you to confirm where the funding is coming from for that particular measure. I'll stop there, Leader, but happy to take any questions that members have.
That's great. I'm going to pass over to Richard, who is the Cabinet Member responsible for finance.
Thank you. I don't have any questions, Jan, but I do just want to set some of the political context because there have been reports in the press as a result of this paper and comments from, I think, the Leader of the Opposition and from other group leaders as well, which have been really disappointing about this financial picture that we have. When you look at the report, if they bothered to, you would see exactly where the pressures are coming from. and it's coming from salary requirements, of which is about 8 million or so, and that is something that is completely without the control of the council. And it's something that isn't negotiated until after the budget in this instance, because this is a look back in time and something that we're looking to find funding for retrospectively. As well, there's pressures in terms of inflation on fuel and electricity and so on and so forth. No one could have foreseen the impact of the war in the Ukraine, which has been the principal driver for this. And yet, the council has, in a number of previous years, had underspends and prudently put money to one side to make sure that we had funds in reserves to cover some of these elements. And it's because of the good financial management of the council, of the 151 officer and of the administration, and my predecessor, Councillor Oliver, and, as well, in years gone by, that we're in a strong position with a good amount of reserves to weather the storm, a position that other councils are not necessarily finding themselves. Naturally, as we go forward into this coming budget round, there's a requirement to address what are unprecedented financial times in terms of looking to cover that pay award, looking to try to understand what the inflationary pressures will be and building that into our budgets. And when you see the number that's included here, and looking slightly directly towards the press, because colleagues within the Cabinet and the Council are very well aware of it, you know, these pressures are something that until you get much further through the budgetary cycle, you don't know what the local government settlement's going to be and what money is coming from national government to cover some of this. And we'll be going through that process in due course. But the leader and myself and the Cabinet are very clear that there'll be a desire to make sure that we protect frontline services, as we have always done and have always been very successful in doing, and deliver a good quality service to Northumberland residents, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely right. It is actually quite interesting that this particular paper was on... Would this paper have been on the website for anybody to read, Jan? Yes, it would. So it says here, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth bullet point down, potential overspend of 17 million. So it says it clearly there, and it said it was there over a week ago for anybody to have read it. It also says the council will be inviting applications from staff for voluntary redundancy. Clear as a bell. So how anybody who reads papers can not have seen that, I do not know. But anyway, that's democracy. That's what we sent our troops to fight world wars for, I guess. But we will continue to bat with a straight bat and ignore naughtiness wherever we can. Okay, so there are some questions on this. Any? Yes, John.
Thank you, Leader. John, I left home quite early this morning. I went to Hexham Mart first to do some of my own business before doing council work today. So I just saw the headlines about what government were likely to announce about businesses and help for what we think will be the council as well. Is there anything further come out today? I'm not up to speed with it. It was mooted it might be 25% off, you know, that was sort of what they were saying.
Yeah, our purchasing arrangements are rather complicated. Councillor Riddle, as you're probably aware, that we purchase our gas and electricity via the North East Purchasing Organisation, the North East Local Authority Purchasing Organisation, and so we're still working through what that announcement actually means. But my expectation is that that there will be some substantial help there. And as I said, it's not just about the direct benefit that to the council's budget, in terms of the energy that we use, but also some of our major providers. So I mentioned Active Northumberland, for example, but our home care providers can also expect some support through that scheme. And as soon as we have the details of that, we will share them with Cabinet. But at the moment, I don't have any further detail to share.
Super. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, Jan is an accountant and she's got to be a pessimist. I'm a councillor and I'm an optimist. I think this is the worst case scenario. I hope I'm right and I hope you're wrong. But already the point I'm trying to make is that this is really not fixed, is it? It's very, very fluid. We just heard things today. We have seen since June the price of fuel, petrol and diesel coming down. And can I tell you something which you probably won't believe, but it's actually true. This morning I got my gas and electricity from, dare I say, E.ON, who I do a monthly payment. And they told me today, because if I got the £400 that we're all going to get from the government, and I've been frugal with our gas and electricity, my bill is going down by £20 a month. And if you don't believe me, I will show you the text. It's on my phone. So if you're frugal and you're getting the help from the government, maybe it's not going to be as bad as we think. There's my optimist cap on.
And hopefully your wife is comfortable at home wearing 3 coats. Okay, so I don't think there are any more questions. So I think this has been a very important paper. It does show that really members need to read those papers that come up on the website before claiming that they are unbelievably surprised to see things. We hope that we will always see fair reporting rather than anything else. Thank you very much indeed for that. And is there anything else that we need to add? If not, can we go to the recommendations? And there's a lot of recommendations there, including the one about the Council inviting applications from staff for voluntary redundancy, all the way over the page. I'm not going to read them all out. Can we accept the recommendations in full? Is there a proposer? Proposed by Councillor Riddle and seconded by Councillor Brenner-Thompson. Are you all in favour, please? That's great. Thank you very much indeed. Now we move to the new capital proposals. Jan, are you going to take us through these as well? We've got we'd like to take them all briefly all the way through.
I'm happy to give you a very brief introduction to each of the items, Leader. So the first is to release funding for the fire and rescue fire control mobilisation system. This does involve bringing forward some funding from the 23-24 financial year, which has been included in the MTFP, and in total Cabinet are asked to approve £89,000 for those upgrades to that fire control mobilising system. The second item is to approve the acquisition of 2 3-bedroom houses on the Cousins Light Pipe Farm development in Long Framlington. It's part of the Council's affordable housing programme at a cost of £312,000. Cabinet are then asked to approve the transfer of £100,000 from the cloud migration budget to the desktop refresh budget, and that funding transfer will be reversed in the following financial year, so it has a neutral impact to allow us to get on with the planning and scoping for the rollout of the forthcoming desktop refresh programme. Next, the Cabinet are asked to accept a grant of £429,000 from the Department for Education as a contribution towards the construction of the first of the new children's homes, this one at Pegswood, and that will enable that project to proceed by filling a funding gap which has emerged due to contract cost inflation since the original approval. The next item is is a significant one. It's to give approval for repairs to go ahead to address the landslip at Todstead at a cost of just over £9.3 million. Again, there is funding within the MTFP for this, and that does include a contribution from the Severe Weather Reserve, and Cabinet are also asked to delegate authority to the Interim Chief Executive to sign the works contract for the project up to a value of £8.6 million so that that work can proceed. And then the final item is to approve an allocation of £5.6 million for next generation flood resilience, and again to delegate authority to the Interim Chief Executive to sign the relevant works contracts up to a value of £5 million. So those are the amendments to the capital programme, and in paragraph 2.7, Cabinet are asked to note contracts in excess of delegated limits. So the first for the solar carport project, and the second in relation to the refurbishment of the Richard Coates School in Ponteland to enable the relocation of Atkinson House. So formal approval sought in both those cases to award the relevant contracts.
Lovely. Thank you, Jan. So are there any particular points that anyone wishes to make? For example, on the Todstead landslip, a hugely important piece of work, John. And we are, rather than just patching this up, we're actually going to undertake an absolutely massive capital expenditure in order to make the road fixed forever.
Yes, Leader, this is a major problem. It's a major fault with artesian water, etc. You know, it's not something that's simple to fix. We've had to bring in specialist advice, and we believe that we have a properly costed scheme which should be a total long-term solution. It is one heck of a lot of money. You know, the other option is close the road. That's deemed to be not acceptable. It is the sort of all-weather road there. Yep. It is the low road, and that is why we have committed to it.
Super. And then the Pegswood Children's Home is a very good development as well, that we want to see up and running. And obviously the issue around more affordable housing this time in Long Framington is very welcome as well. So all good projects, I hope you agree, and shows the breadth and width of expenditure throughout the county. Are there any questions that anyone would like to ask, or any queries on any of these? No? Okay, so if not, we do have the recommendation, which is to recommend that we agree all of those schemes that Jan has kindly run through. Is there a proposal? Proposed by Councillor Watson and seconded by Councillor Pojai. All in favour? That's unanimous again. And I think that takes us to the end of a very... No, it doesn't. Oh, it doesn't. No, we've got urgent business.
And then we have a pink report.
Then we have a pink report. So is there any urgent business?
No.
Right.
So you need the motion.
So therefore we need to move into the closed session. Say thank you very much to our friends for coming. And I hope that was some interesting copy there of the positive nature. And we look forward to...
You need the resolution for that, Chair. Chair, you need the resolution for that.
We look forward to seeing you soon. Can we have the motion, please?
Proposed, move into...
Proposed and seconded by Councillor Watson.